This is Basket Case Clubs, CBR Group's podcast where we turn basket case clubs into showcase clubs. Hello everyone and welcome back to Basket Case Clubs. My name's Michael Connolly and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you as we go down this journey of basket casey goodness. Joining me, as often happens, is both the dog Lulu, who has walked in to join us again. Hello, my darling. And notice that I'm spending a lot more time concentrating on her because she's gorgeous. And then there's the other guy. Welcome, Steve.
I do not have a cute fluffy tail. I understand why you would focus on her instead.
Yep.
We got our
Cute
basket
dog.
case pooches in town tonight.
Yeah. So we are continuing our journey on discussing money. We, at some point, will, you know...
At some point, we're going to wrap this mini series up.
Yes. Now, this is what I wanted to tell you. How much does it shit you when you go to the movies to see the sequel? So I did this in about 1986 when I went to the movies to see the sequel to Back to the Future. I did it again in about 2003 when I went to see the sequel to The Matrix. Now, I'm sure it's happened lots more. Apparently, it happened in a recent Spider-Man movie as well. But you get to the end of the sequel and you think everything is going to be wrapped up. And then it comes up on the screen, to be concluded. Like, what is that? Like, I didn't come here as a teaser for a third movie where you're going to take more of my money and more of my time. But
here we are.
No, well, I was going to say, unlike the third Matrix movie, and yes, there was one, and yeah, it wasn't like the first. You know, I'm not going to cast judgment. I'm just going to say it wasn't like the first. This is great stuff. So we are going to give you quality from start to finish. So we're getting down to the tin tacks here. What we're talking about is how to make more money as a sports club. I recognize that as we talk about sports clubs in basket case clubs, it's fairly straightforward because sport has great opportunities. And as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, sport as an industry, so not-for-profit grassroots sport contributes to an $18.7 billion kick to the Australian economy. That's serious dough. The not-for-profit bit is not getting all of that because it is going to the likes of personal trainers and gyms, but there's more that they can be getting. And so that's the purpose of this part of the mini-series. So what I want to touch on today is a few more of these things, and let's see if we can get through more than one this time before getting drawn down a rabbit hole.
I think as many as we've gotten through is two.
In an episode?
Yeah.
All right, bang on. I'm going to start with a really important one. As I have a sip of my cup of coffee, I'd like to talk about going to the bar.
Good. All right. And the markup on alcohol is often considerable.
Troubled, Steve.
No.
Why are you troubled?
No.
So there's potential to make money.
There's potential, absolutely, there's potential to make money. Now, we need to point to the elephant in the room, which is that we need to avoid the promotion of dickhead behaviour. And
okay, sorry, I didn't know where you were going there, but absolutely.
And in some sporting clubs, the unfortunate reality, as many of our listeners will know, is that people, when they're full of piss, behave like dickheads. However, in my experience, it's not. It is more common in some sports than others, and I'll leave it at that. But
could it be those sports that alcohol is a big part of the culture of those sports?
Yes, I think so.
And so you're talking about some high-profile sports in Australia?
Yes, one particular code of football.
Well, I think it's most particular codes of football, not all.
Yes,
but definitely most.
Yep. And look. The vast majority of people who turn up to a particularly, local sporting match are going to behave well, and they maybe going to have a couple of drinks and they're going to drive home. So we're talking about the exception.
Yep.
Nevertheless, there are good reasons that we have very strict licensing regulations in place here in Australia, and particularly, where we are here in Queensland, that govern the responsible service of alcohol and make sure that people who are selling alcohol understand the fundamental principles of when to stop doing so to particular people.
Okay, so we're talking about alcohol sales as an opportunity for making money.
Yep.
But what's really important and what Steve's just talking about is that that's not the be all and end all.
Yes.
Making money is not the be all and end all. Now, when I was a young whippersnapper and I was at university, there was no such thing as RSA.
Yep.
So in those days,
it was ISA. Irresponsible
service of alcohol. Yeah, pretty much. It was irresponsible. Now, people my age at the time were complaining, oh, the bourbon shots were watered down. Like, okay, but you paid $1 for it and you were able to order 8 of them at a time.
Yeah.
So that's not really okay.
Probably good for you that it was watered down.
Probably good for definitely good for you, because you're telling me this after puking your guts out. The vodka and jelly shots that so bad things happen. Now, the work that we do in the university sector is particularly important because there's the concept of the risk assessment. So we talk about risk management, and in university clubs and societies, they need to do a risk assessment before running an event. Now, the risk assessment should be seen as a really positive thing. We want this event to happen because we can see great benefit in this event happening. The risk assessment says to make it a yes, to make us be able to run this great event, there are some things that we're going to need to do to make sure we're providing a safe environment. Unfortunately, when you add alcohol to any event, what might be slightly bad behavior can magnify into terribly bad behavior.
Yep.
So some of the bad behavior that we see is sexual harassment, sexual assault, physical violence towards people. So these are very serious issues, and we can't make light of them just because we're talking about selling alcohol to make money. There are some organisations for whom it would be completely inappropriate to sell alcohol. For instance, the AFL says at a junior event, if there's junior footy going on, there's no alcohol. I'm a very strong supporter of that, because it should all be about the kids and what's going on out there. The sideline behaviour, as you've mentioned, typically does get worse when alcohol's involved. So that's a great way to say that's not happening. There are cultural organisations, because of cultural beliefs, that won't have alcohol. So all of that is fine. Again, it's all about all of these being deliberate decisions. And so if you do choose to run a bar, whether it's with a partial liquor license, a full liquor license, or just an event-based liquor license, it is very, very important that you understand the parameters around it.
Yep.
Yes, it can be a great way to make money. Unfortunately, in Australia, there is a great coupling of our sporting culture and our drinking culture.
Yep.
So we need to be very careful about that, because it is very, very hard to decouple them.
Yep.
There are some codes that are doing a good job. AFL is certainly one of them. So that's important. But understand that there are liquor licensing requirements, that there are risk management requirements that you've got to go through to be able to sell alcohol, and take them all seriously. If you do choose to go down the using alcohol as a way to make money path, then it also doesn't need to be systematic across every aspect of your operations. There's one organisation that I'm involved with, for instance, that has our most successful fundraiser is our trivia night, which leads us to our next point about events and activities to make money. Now, the trivia night itself is a great fun night. Tickets started at $15 a person, tables are 10, and we started at maxing out at 120 people. We didn't max out the first year. The next year we had to turn people away. The third year we changed venues. We didn't quite max out. The fourth year we had to turn people away again. So, and by the way, by the time we got to year 4,
they weren't $15 a ticket anymore, were they?
35, baby. Yep. So 350 for a table of 10.
Yep.
So we are not for profit. So all of this money is going, in this case, it's a music society.
Yep.
So all of this money is going back into supporting the kids who are playing musical instruments and need more equipment. And as somebody who spends a lot of money on musical equipment, I know how expensive it is. I can just twiddle with the piano here again. I know that these things are quite expensive. So that's a great way to make money. But then when we also look at that as not just the event itself, but we can say, well, despite the fact that we don't sell alcohol at every event, we can sell alcohol at this one. And so in the cases where we have run a bar, the overall profit from one night has increased from about $4,000 to over $6,000. Now that's it. Okay, it's a lot of work.
Yep.
But it's also a big return on investment.
That is.
When we also then sell raffle tickets, and obviously with the trivia night, there's all of the incidental things that you do. So the heads and tails, the buy-in rounds, the bonus round, the paper plane round, all tremendous fun. But when it's an extra couple of bucks, and now you know that nobody turns up with gold coins anymore. So in year one, we used to walk around with a bucket and you'd hear the tinkle, tinkle, tinkle as people would be dropping in their gold coins. Now it's just blip on the square reader. See, there we go again.
Yep.
We're going to have to get in touch
You're
with Square.
welcome.
Like,
Yeah.
seriously, we don't get any bloody endorsement payments. We're going to have to do something about that.
The other thing really quickly about alcohol is that it's really easy for it to grow legs. And one rugby club that we worked with many moons ago had these great signs all over the back of the bar that none of the customers saw, which was simply freebies aren't fair. So they had this real problem where people would go and work behind the bar, and a lot, well, not a lot, but a reasonable contingent of those people were doing so just so that they could have a freebie at the end of the night.
Themselves.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So not
or
for the
giving
customers.
it to their mates.
No, it's for themselves.
Yeah.
So it was to limit this, and you know, we've worked with another organisation where the president and his wife were going and buying all the alcohol for the club, and you know, were doing so because they were getting it cheaper. One of the problems was that it came up that there was a lot of VB being purchased, which wasn't sold at the club.
Oh my goodness!
So it's a really easy thing, and we've spoken about drinking the profits away as well. So make sure that you're monitoring stock and keeping reasonable control of what you've got coming through the club in the way of alcohol.
Yep,
alcohol.
So
alcohol.
So you can see that it's an opportunity, but it does need systems around it.
Yep.
And the good thing about alcohol is that those systems are mandated by law.
Yes.
So that's a really good thing.
It's a good excuse that people can hide behind to say, we've got to do the right thing because the law says so.
And we will get in a big chunk of trouble if we don't.
Absolutely.
And they will, and if they do, they deserve it because it shouldn't be taken lightly. So when we were talking about canteen income last time, I want to extend that now to another area, another business unit, another area of operation, which is merch.
Yep.
So we talked, particularly when we were talking about marketing for the canteen, about how we can have seasonal variations to the menu. You know what? We can do exactly the same thing with our merch.
Yep.
But what I want to show you is that money making can compound. So there's a saying that you'll probably find on the internet, which is that Einstein had said that the power of compounding is the 8th great wonder of the world. Now, I'm going to officially call bullshit on that. I don't think Einstein gave too much of a shit about compounding when he was smart enough to give us not only general relativity, but specific relativity, which then led to the Matthew McConaughey and what's her name? I'm going to say Audrey Hepburn. No, Anne Hathaway film, which was called Interstellar. I'm glad I remembered that quickly because I was on a roll there.
Was she in that? Wasn't it the other lady with the...
And Matt Damon was in it.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
But it was a clever movie. Because Einstein gave a shit about the fact that if you get too close to a black hole, you're going to have time dilation. He didn't care about the fact that if you put a bit of money in the bank, it's going to compound. But the power of compounding works more than just if you leave your money there and put a bit of extra in, then you're earning interest on the interest on the interest on the interest on the interest. And the curve actually goes like that. It's a logarithmic curve, not a linear curve. That would be a linear line. The same thing. So compounding works when you've got multiple facets going on. So I've already hinted at this when I said, don't just have a trivia night. Have a trivia night plus a well-structured bar plus a raffle that's going on, or raffles, silent auction at the same time. So you're getting a multiple effect by adding fundraising activities onto fundraising activities. Merchandising can be exactly the same thing. So we can have our merchandise. That's great. So in summer, we sell the tank tops, the singlets,
visors,
the t-shirts, the caps and visors. Probably caps because they're probably a bit more sun protection-y. Maybe bucket hats.
I've never understood the visor. I'm going to call bullshit on myself there. The visor is a terrible, terrible invention. Carry on.
Especially for somebody like you with a receding hairline. Gee, I wonder where you get it. You reckon it runs in the family? Like, I'm going to get really burnt here, but have no skin cancer here. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Good point.
Yep. But then come winter.
come winter, come summer. Let's actually start to compound this. So yeah, sorry, come winter, then we've got the scarves and the beanies and the hoodies and the jackets. But the great thing about merch now is you can establish relationships with the suppliers where you don't have to carry stock.
Yep.
So a big difficulty with canteens, and we said this again when we're talking marketing, is you don't make your money when you sell, you make your money when you buy. So it's having the right amount of stock that you know is going to sell, the profitable stock that is going to sell. We don't have to worry about that so much when we're talking merch, because we can have one, or we might have one extra large, one medium, one small, one extra small. We just have one to try on, because then all you do is place your order, and that's the point at which we place our order to our supplier, who may very well be overseas. And then it's just, and where does it go? Doesn't have to come here. You want it to go straight to your house? We'll send it straight to your house. Again, this is all value adding, like we were talking last time. So that's great. So we don't have to carry stock.
But also make it really freaking easy for people to buy online. We are so spoiled today. I know when I buy anything online and I can't pay with PayPal, unless there's a really good reason, like there's no other retailer from which I can buy and use PayPal, only then will I pay. Because I've got to find my credit card and I've got to remember those 3 little shitty digits on the back that Google doesn't remember for me when I'm entering my credit card details. So make it really easy when people are buying shit from you for them to do so, and make the user interface seamless. Make so if you're buying online, this is if you're buying online, which I'm assuming clubs are offering, which
are able to. So if they're not yet, again, online sales. For everything. So we're talking merch, but you should also be able to do online pre-ordering for your canteen.
Maybe not the bar.
Some clubs still have takeaways.
But the canteen. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But certainly the canteen.
Yeah, and look, liquor legislation in different states and territories may make that not okay. But yeah, go on.
So for me, as soon as it's difficult to make a purchase online, particularly, then it's going to be a disincentive, and I'm potentially going to walk away altogether
and not make the purchase.
And if we're talking about an item that I don't need, arguably, depending on with whom I'm speaking, if it's my wife, then yes,
absolutely you need
I need the stubby cooler, particularly in winter, because otherwise my hand will get cold from holding my beer on the sideline. But make it really easy. The point that I'm trying to make is there are no excuses now for not offering card payments. Similarly, in my experience, in my opinion rather, there's no excuse for not offering really seamless online purchasing solutions. Make it easy.
So I hope I'm not the only one, and I hope there's some other listeners out there going, so you still need PayPal because you don't have a good password manager that is putting your credit card details in auto-filling for you? Okay, that was good because I got a chance to hang shit on my brother. But in reality, if it makes it difficult for you and you're the one making the decision and you walk away, we have to listen to you.
That's it. And I recognize that not everyone uses PayPal, and that some people won't purchase online at all. So that needs to be an as well as, not an instead of. So recognizing that your customer base will be diverse.
So that may also mean that some people still want to give you cash.
Of course.
Because they're still getting paid cash because they're doing dodgy.
But I maintain that it's okay as long as cash isn't as well as.
It shouldn't be the norm.
Matt from our team and I were talking just today about this, where he was having a strategic planning meeting with a significant netball association on the weekend, and there was disagreement in the room amongst committee members about whether they should move to exclusively card payment or maintain the opportunity for people to pay in the canteen by cash. And one of the arguments on the pro cash side was, we get lots of kids turning up with a $5 note that their mum's given them because they, want to send them off with some autonomy to the canteen to go and buy something. And anecdotally, the argument was, we make thousands of dollars during a canteen with cash. So
during a carnival?
Sorry, during a carnival, not a canteen. We make thousands of dollars during a canteen. Thousands of dollars during a carnival.
Thousands of canteens during a canteen.
Don't necessarily jump straight into making a decision that you're going to do away with cash in that particular situation. And Matt, guiding them through the planning session that he was running with them, really had to manage these strong differences of opinion, where some were the old school saying, no, we've got to keep cash, and some were in the, new frame of mind saying post-COVID we should. This was a really good opportunity for us to do away with cash. Therefore, we don't need to count it. We're limiting the expectation on our volunteers to have to count that cash. But what they agreed was that they were actually going to apply some rigor to the assessment, and for a few canteens that are coming up, they're going to do an analysis of how much money they make in cash and how much money they take over the canteen with card payments, and then they'll make a decision as to whether they're going to phase it out or not. So,
Okay.
So
Data-based approach.
absolutely.
Like it. Yep.
So the point that you make is a really good one, that some people might want to still pay cash. Some people are not going to want to buy things online. Some people aren't going to be comfortable buying online. So,
or they've just got cash, like you said, the kids who've
Yep.
got the $5 and
That's
don't
it.
want to walk away empty-handed,
but
or hungry and mum's gone, thinking that she's
Well,
given them food.
yeah, but in my strong opinion, offer card. Absolutely take that payment
Definitely.
option.
Yep.
Don't have
Yep.
cash only.
And that's across the board. So we're not only talking about at the canteen.
Yep.
This is when you're running events, when you're running your trivia night. So
Yep.
like I said, we don't have the bucket that you tinkle into anymore. And I thought about that after I said it, that could have gone better.
Could have gone better. Yep.
Tinkle the cash.
Well, that's where we're going to break this episode up. You know how I said at the start of this episode that I hate going to the movies only to find out that there's actually going to be a sequel and it doesn't even end? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do to you right now. So consider this your to be concluded. So even though there's this whole changing landscape around money and wanting to pay in different ways, keep options open for everyone. Remember that our old accountant used to say, let people give you money the way they want to give you money. So offer card, offer cash, use PayPal. Just make it easy for people to give you money. So like I said, we've had to split this episode into two parts because there was just so much good stuff that Steve and I ended up talking about. So thanks very much for listening to part 1 of our 9-part, the conclusion of our 9-part Money Talks mini-series. Thanks, of course, to Steve for joining me. We had a lot of fun doing these couple of episodes. And, of course, thanks to Jess for making us look fantastic and sound fantastic. And thank you to you, our wonderful listeners, for joining us. If you're not already connected to us on social media, make sure you find us there. And stay tuned for part 2 of this episode, which will conclude our mini-series on making money. Until then, see you next time. Basket Case Clubs acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country on which we record, being Yugambeh, Turrbal, Jagera and Kabi Kabi land. We recognise their enduring connection to land, waters and culture, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to First Nations listeners.